Hello and welcome to another episode of the Box Score Network NFL Preview Show on YouTube. I am Simon. Joining me this week are Austin and Ben. The playoffs are here, everybody. It is week 19 of the NFL season. Wildcard weekend is among us. We're going to be talking about all six of our playoff games. We are going to be doing our bets. We are going to be talking about the playoffs and what's to come. So make sure you are here, subscribe to this channel. It is obviously Friday evening as we are recording this. This will be up Saturday for all the games. Make sure you're subscribed to Box Score Network because as the playoff schedule is fluid, we will be fluid with it. We will make sure we are here covering you all the way through the playoffs. And don't touch that dial. We'll be here after the season ends. So if you're thinking, I'm not going to get my Box Score Network preview show, what am I going to do every weekend morning when I wake up? Stay right here. We'll have content here for you through the draft season. We'll see about after the draft. There might be a little bit of a hiatus, but there will always be content because go to our audio podcasts as well. Tricky Takes, Two Peas on a Pod, Odds on Favorite, the Simon and Friends podcast, as well as their soccer podcast because CONCACAF. Make sure you check all that out. But be subscribed, stay here. We will continue to bring the content to you. To kick us off this week, no game of the week, obviously. Every game here is game of the week from here on out. So we're just going to kick right off with the Saturday afternoon slate. We're going to do something a little bit different for our picks this week. We are going to do a ranking, a 6 to 1. It's essentially how confident you are in your pick, and you get those bonus points added to your win total for the season based on how much confidence how much gumption you are giving your prediction. Um, Austin, is there anything on your end to add to that little spiel on what we're doing here this week for our confidence meter?
No, I mean, if you don't get it, it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll figure it out as we go. We're gonna say how confident we are, 6 to 1. It's not we can't give multiple of each scores is the other thing. Like
Hmm.
there's a number six and there is a number one and everything in between.
Yeah, yeah. So Austin and I are here trying to catch up to Ben. And listen, we'll give Ben the regular season nod. Okay, we're not going to crown him just yet for the whole season, but we'll give him his rec. He'll get his little pin in the mail, right? Maybe a small banner, not a big one from the rafters from his Christmas tree
Yes.
out room there, but maybe a small little banner, regular season winner. 175 and 71 for Ben on the season. Congratulations to you, Ben. Do you want to give a little speech? Do you have a little
Yeah,
prepared statement for
I
us?
couldn't have done it without my teammates. We persevered. We had a lot of adversity. We just had a lot of people help us. We just didn't quit. That's it.
Great job. Yeah. Ben's rocking. Austin and I are continuing to be neck and neck here at second and third place. I have 166. He's at 165. Parker quit. He's just not here. He's at 153. He lost all his money in the bets. He's at zero. He didn't want to have to shell out any money to get something back for the bets this week. So Parker quit. Just kidding. I think we'll see
Everybody
him next
check your
week.
goats. He might have ran off with them.
Yeah, if you're missing any goats, find Parker on that one. But let's get into it, guys. So we're gonna go Chargers at Texans. The Chargers, last I looked, were road favorites. That's up to 2.5. The Chargers are currently favored by 2.5 in Houston as the 5 seed. We're gonna break down each of these games a little bit, somewhere between our game of the week and our regular picks. But Austin, what are you thinking about for this game? What's your prediction? What are some things you're watching for?
This is one I feel pretty confident in. I'll give my number at the end, but I like the Chargers. I have felt pretty good about picking them since, I mean, we've been talking about the playoffs since like Monday, basically. And I've been on three different shows talking about it, so I feel very versed. There's going to be a couple ones where I've wavered. This is not one of them, though. I really like the Chargers. I think everything's lining up for them. Stroud not looked great especially towards the end of the season. He hasn't looked great. Mixon does scare me, but this Chargers team can absolutely stop the run, so I think that's gonna be their big priority. I think they'll handle it. Nico Collins might burn you for one, but that's okay because Lad McConkey's on the other end, who's absolutely blown up and had a great second half of the season. So I'm looking for a big game from the Chargers just in general. I'm going to give them a five. So that's the second most confident win, I think, for me in this slate of games this week.
Ben, what are you thinking here?
So I've got the Chargers as well, but I really think this is anybody's game. I figure it's low scoring. I figure it's A lot of field goals, maybe a touchdown for each team. I wouldn't expect a ton of points here, although those teams are capable. The biggest thing for me here isn't so much that I'm in love with the Chargers, although I love the direction they're going. It's that Houston just hasn't shown us anything this year. I mean, they're a solid football team, and that's kind of it. There hasn't been a stretch this year where we've looked at them and said, okay, yeah, finally, this is what a lot of us thought we were going to get this year. There just hasn't been that stretch at any point, not early, mid, not late. And so it's really kind of a lack of confidence here in Houston that's really driving me for that. I'll put this game at a confidence level of 2 for me, 2 points. But it's more lack of confidence in Houston at the moment, based on the season.
And I think that concern for Ben on lack of confidence speaks to what Austin was kind of talking about, where some of the things Houston can do that could be their saving grace a little bit. When you have an explosive element to your game like a Nico Collins, you just can't always predict exactly how it's going to go, right? It only takes a second and a half for Stroud to drop back and launch that thing for a Nico Collins and make a couple big plays like that and try to keep them in this game. This Chargers offense we've seen be a more methodical offense, be kind of more that typical run first, run second down offense. But we've also seen them go the other way. So they're flexible in what they're doing, which could let the Texans be in this a little bit. For me, I'm going with the Chargers as well. The Texans have taken a very slight step back in the last 6 games or so on the defense side of the ball, which was their saving grace all year. Meanwhile, the Chargers have been pretty rock steady on defense all year long, but I think their offense has just gone up a notch as they go more to Herbert and McConkey. That McConkey and Stingley matchup is going to be really fun. The Texans do play sides more, so I wonder if McConkey's going to move around a little bit in this one. But I'll still be really interested whenever those two guys match up. But at the end of the day, I think that Chargers defense against what Houston's offensive structure and offensive line has not been able to do just gives me the confidence. I'm going to go with the three. They're right in the middle for me. I feel pretty confident in this. If it wasn't for that dang Bucks game 5 or 6 weeks ago for the Chargers, I'd be even more confident. But they're liable to get punched in the mouth. But I think they've got this one under wraps. From an injury perspective, both teams are fairly healthy. No Josh Palmer for the Chargers. Quentin Johnston is dealing with a groin injury and an illness, but he's supposed to play. We'll see if that limits him in any way. And for the Texans, Shaq Mason is out, the guard. He's been out for a couple weeks, but Titus Howard has moved to left guard. Blake Fisher is playing right tackle for Houston. So we're all going Chargers there. Different levels of confidence, but we're all going with the Chargers. So that bodes well for them. Let's go to our evening game on Saturday. Steelers at Ravens. The Ravens opened at like 9.5. They're still 9.5 point favorites here at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben, what are you thinking about for this game? No Zay Flowers, I should say here at the top. This is a big one. No Zay Flowers for Baltimore, and the Steelers could be without starting guard Mason McCormick, but Zay Flowers, the wide receiver, is obviously the big name to watch here.
The Zay Flowers thing does worry me a good bit here for the Ravens, but probably it would be more worrisome if they weren't playing the Steelers. This Steelers offense here just is struggling past month to get points on the board. And, part of that was the Pickens injury, but even with Pickens back in, they still haven't been able to get it together. So, I've got Russell Wilson on one side versus Lamar on the other. I know it's playoff Lamar, but still, it's still Lamar. And then I've got Derrick Henry on one side versus, the Steelers rushing guys on the other side. It just, I like Baltimore better here. So I think it may be tight early, maybe tight through third quarter. At the end of the day, though, I still feel like Baltimore has more firepower.
What confidence are you giving that one, Ben?
I I've given it 4. I had a couple of the games in the mix here, but I'm going to give this one a 4. Feel fairly good about this one.
Austin, where are you at?
This one was tough for me. If you listened to Simon's show, you heard me pick the Steelers, and that was not like just doing it for the content or for the bit. Like I legitimately think the Steelers have a really good shot, and that's going to play into my confidence level in this. I'm not going to give my winner yet, but this is a 2. There's only one game I am less confident in who I'm picking to win than this one. It's almost at a coin flip for me, which is crazy considering it's a 9.5 point difference according to Vegas, but that's just how I feel. This is a divisional game. These two teams hate each other. The weather's going to be cold. It's not going to be snowing, which I think does actually help the Ravens, but I'm going to land on the Ravens side of the ball, but just barely. Talk to me tomorrow morning and I might change my mind. But right now, I'm on the Ravens, giving it a 2 on the confidence meter.
I am also on the Ravens for this one. That 9.5 points is obviously really baked into the second matchup between these two teams when the Ravens ended up doubling up the Steelers. I believe 34-17 was the final score. But that game was close for a little bit into the game, like Ben said. The Ravens eventually able to pull away. Steelers did have a lot of injuries in that one. Larry Ogunjobi, Deshaun Elliott on defense. No George Pickens in that game at all. Joey Porter Jr. ended up leaving that game injured. Um, so all of those things, the defense just kind of got wore out, and you could see that on the field as they kind of gave up those last few touchdowns there, some turnovers by the offense. All that is to say that I think this game will be closer than that 9.5. I think Austin's right there. I think that it should be kind of recalibrated back to earlier in the season when these two teams matched up and it was a 2-point game. But I think a lot of the stuff that Ben mentioned, playoff Lamar, I think a lot of that stuff is out of his system, man. I mean, the guy was incredible against the blitz. He's incredible against pressure this year. Those were his kind of two bugaboo's in the past. He's still good for a bad fumble every now and again, and Steelers got him just a couple weeks ago on one. But I think this offense is just too high powered, and even if we get a good George Pickens game in this one as a viewership, we all get to see a good George Pickens game. I don't think there's enough for the Steelers here. Russell Wilson's been going downhill fast these last few weeks. I don't think the Steelers they're gonna need a lot of defensive turnovers. They're gonna need a lot of defensive junk to kind of make this game happen. And it'll be close. It'll AFC North game. These two teams always play this way, but I think the Ravens are gonna pull this one out. I have a confidence meter of 4 on this one. Ben, what do you got?
Simon, you mentioned it on your show Wednesday night too. One thing I'm going to be looking for out of the Steelers is do they commit the resources to stop Derek first, which they did earlier in the season to produce the smaller rushing totals, and then force Lamar to do it, which I think he can, but force him. Or do they back off of Derek and let Derek run wild, and then you have Lamar killing you too? So if it were me, I'm stopping Derek first. I'll force Lamar. Maybe I lose anyway, but that's going to be my recipe.
And schematically, like they are helped by Zay Flowers being out and Joey Porter Jr. being healthy because now you don't have that number one receiver. Your number one corner can do a few more things. You can put him on Rashad Bateman if you want, and then you feel like you have the receivers really kind of on lock, and the other 10 guys can focus all on the run game between Lamar and Derrick Henry. So this is a better situation than the Steelers were in a couple weeks ago when they faced off. But yeah, I'm still on the Ravens. So I'm at a 4 on that one, as is Ben, and Austin is at a 2 at this point. So we're all chalk so far here. Let's get into the final AFC matchup we have. We have the Broncos at the Bills. The Bills are currently 8.5 point favorites at home against Denver. From an injury standpoint, these teams are also pretty healthy. Austin, talk to me. What do you got here?
Oh, I thought you might want to save me for last here, but no, I don't mind.
As I said
Uh,
your name, I was like, I probably should have saved him for last. But you know what? Let's bring the heat right away. Hit him with the fastball inside, and then throw a curveball. No, that's not it. That's not it because you're the curveball. But baseball.
Baseball. Well, yeah, throw them what they don't expect early. Getting a strike early with a curveball. Yeah, I'm going Broncos here to win this game. The confidence is a 1, but I'm still picking them, right? Like
Yeah.
and
You're
it's
still doing it.
again, it's not anything. I'm not pretending to really like the Broncos here. Simon knows the absolute torture I went through trying to decide who to pick in this game on his show. And I feel the same way. I don't know why it is such a large spread. I think when I looked at it originally, it was like a 10-point spread, and it's coming
Hmm.
back down towards earth. But we're still too far away from the ground here. This Broncos team's really good. The defense is legitimate, and the Bills, I feel like everything that they struggle with defensively are what the Broncos excel at. The Bills are really bad in defensively in the second half. The Broncos are one of the best second half offenses in my mind. Sean Payton's a great coach, knows how to kind of figure out how to exploit the defense in that second half. And Bo Nix settles into the game really well. It reminds me, actually, funny enough, of Russell Wilson, though that was their quarterback last year, but not Broncos version of Russell Wilson. I'm talking like prime Russell Wilson on the Seahawks. How like you might see a little bit of like panicky and jitters early in football games, but he settles in so well and sort of just finds a rhythm. Bo Nix does that really well, and I think that's a sign of a quarterback who's able to like slow that heart rate. And I don't think this is going to be too big of a moment for him. And that's another kind of product of what he did in college, being in college and so long, and then being on a really good championship winning team there at the end. So yeah, I think they can pull it off. Is it is it going to be tough? Absolutely, but I'm riding with the Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride.
Ben, what do you got?
I've got the Bills winning here, and I'm going to end up as a confidence of six. I believe on this one is what I have posted in the sheet. My biggest problem here is, and so much of what Austin said was right. My biggest worry here is Bo Nix himself because I got to watch way more Denver football than I expected this year, man. I live on the East Coast. I don't usually get that many Denver games, but of all years, I got a bunch of them, so I got to see Bo a lot. Sean has worked wonders with Bo, and Bo has outperformed my expectations of him. But still, so much of what Bo does right now is based on screens, handoffs, short pass, run. Then when you need it, hit the deep one. And we haven't seen that formula change. We've seen it shift around from one week to the next, right? More screens in the second quarter of the season than we'd see now. We've seen that formula shift around, but still so much of that. And I'm just not sure that this Bills defense isn't capable of handling that. So many of the two wide receiver deep clear outs that opens up an underneath route, and Bo has a one read look on that, and then if he doesn't have it, he just runs the football. The Bills zone up a lot, and so I'm just not sure that they're going to chase bait on that and clear out that underneath route, and then you're going to have people just kind of watching Bo the whole time. Also, this Denver group of receivers, it's not a great Bills defense, but I don't think it has to be to match up against this Broncos group of wide receivers. So to me, that's the biggest factor in this game. And I haven't even mentioned that Josh Allen is standing on the other sideline, right? So ultimately, that's what's got me the most worried in this game. Because Austin's right. This Broncos defense is phenomenal, man. I mean, goodness gracious, they're fantastic. But it's the Bo Nix versus the Bills defense, especially when you don't have a great group of receivers there for Denver.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills as well. This is my confidence of five, so second most confident in this one. And I agree with a lot of what Austin was saying, where I think from a style standpoint and a statistical standpoint, the Broncos are a very good match for Buffalo. Um, it's kind of that styles make fights mentality. Like they're a very good run defense. Part of why the Bills offense is so great this year is they are running the
Yeah.
ball very effectively for the first time in years. Um, the Broncos do really well on first down themselves. The Bills should have not traditionally this year been very great on first down. But I think at the end of the day, it's also going to be I subscribe more to the Jimmys and Joes, right? Not the X's and O's. And don't get me wrong, the Jimmys and Joes in Denver, not half bad, especially that defense. But Josh Allen, I think there's just too big of a talent gap between him and basically everybody else on the other side in this one. Um, and the Bills are built around him now the right way with the great pass protection, with the more beef in the middle of the offensive line, the complementary run game that I say complimentary, but they really lean on first. Um, and you look at the Broncos, their seven losses this season. You compare those teams and those coaches and what they do from a game plan perspective and how they're viewed as game planners to the wins that Ben was talking about. He saw a lot of their games this year out there in Carolina. The Broncos played the NFC South this year. So they got to play the Saints, they got to play the Panthers, they played that Bucks defense, they played that Falcons team. But they lose to Seattle, Pittsburgh, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Bengals. So you take the Bengals out of there, they're obviously a great team, but from a coaching perspective, Harbaugh, Tomlin, and McDonald there. That's some good coaching. And Sean McDermott is a dang good coach, and he'll put together a good defensive game plan, I think. So I'm gonna go with the Bills in this one. That's my confidence of 5. Moving on, let's get into the NFC here. Packers at Eagles. Everybody's shaping up to be relatively healthy for this one, except no Christian Watson, obviously, for the Packers. Quay Walker is also questionable with that ankle. That's kept him out a couple of weeks. But the Eagles, everyone's good to go there. Jalen Hurts cleared concussion protocol. The wide receivers are good to go. So Philly is healthy. Green Bay is mostly healthy, including quarterback Jordan Love. The Eagles are favored by 5.5 in this one at home. Austin, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I'm really confident in the Eagles there. This is my most confident game of the week. 6 points here to the Eagles. Christian Watson being hurt is a big deal. His kind of stat numbers aren't the most impressive, but he is the threat on that offense of any play Christian Watson can go for however many yards is needed into the end zone.
Hmm.
And that really does something to a defense. I think without him, I've talked on Ben's show about how much I love this Eagles secondary.
Hmm.
And I think without Christian Watson kind of making them have to play a little bit more hesitantly, they are going to be absolutely getting after Josh Jacobs and helping run stop and still be able to. I mean, Jaden Reed's obviously a fantastic receiver, and he does need to, be respected, but I'm not necessarily super worried about the rest of the guys, even though, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dubs, like they have guys, and Tucker Kraft's pretty solid. But yeah, this is a should be a pretty easy win for the Eagles, I think.
There's no one on that Packers offense without Watson, and Watson's such a like X factor wild card type player. You don't always get this, like you said, in the production, but he's the guy from a game plan and schematic perspective you have to like account for with multiple guys, right? Like, okay,
Hmm.
if we're gonna put Arnold on him, or we're just gonna play him with whatever side, we're gonna make sure that safety knows where he's at every time, right? If they're gonna run some kind of a short play for him, everyone's got to run and tackle on that guy for Yak. All the other guys are like, hey, you said it, our secondary is so good. Just line up and play, right? Line up and play on Dobbs, make the tough catches tough. Jaden Reed, just don't let him get the screens, and don't let him get the end around stuff off, and you'll be okay. Wicks, you'll be okay. Everyone else they can kind of match up on, but Watson is that guy you kind of have to bend the defense to. Ben, how are you feeling about this game?
I'm in the same boat. I've got the Eagles, and I've got them winning. I've got the confidence level of 5 here. Five stack there. What I will say, if I'm the Packers here, what am I going to try to do? There's two things. Number one, I want to try to shut down Saquon Barkley first. I'm not necessarily looking to just stop him all the way because I don't think that's possible, but I really want to drag down his average yards per carry. I just want, instead of him racking up 5, 6, 7 yards a carry, I want him getting, 2.5. I want to load the box. I want to make that difficult. And ultimately, what that's going to do, if I'm successful at that, again, he may still break a 60-yarder on me, but I'll live with that. I just want to make it tough. Ultimately, what I want to do, I want to shift the pressure over to Jalen Hurts, and I want to make him coming back off of concussion protocol. And he's often been game manager type quarterback this year. Hasn't had a lot of moments where he's had to deliver necessarily. I want to shift that pressure back on him. And if I can do that, then maybe I get an interception or two, a turnover or two. And who knows? This whole Eagles team is kind of prone to cracks and fissures sometimes. So I want to do that. The other thing I want to do, I want to do everything I can to get the lead early. I don't want to get game scripted here because game script will be Eagles all the way. They'll just wipe me out. So I want to do everything I can to get some kind of a lead here early. Again, that might put a little pressure back on Philly, but also it allows me to run the football more, which is what I'm best at. I'm a run-based offense this year. Even though Jordan Love's had some good moments, I'm a run-based offense. So I want to get the lead early, and I want to try to drag down that yards per carry by Saquon. I think those are the two things that give me the biggest chance.
Ben very nicely and politely laid out the keys to the Packers win this game, but yeah, he did pick the Eagles with the confidence level of 5 on that. So that's where we're
Yes.
at. Only thing I'll add is it does feel like this Packers team, while good, has a ceiling. 0-4 to the Vikings and Lions this year. But they can beat the other playoff teams like Rams, Texans, and even Seahawks, playoff caliber team. But the Eagles, their only loss in September was when their starting quarterback got hurt mid-game. So even with their backups in, once they game plan and knew what that was, they win those games, and otherwise they're dominant. So I've got the Eagles in this one. That's my confidence of 6 as well. Let's get to Commanders Bucks on Sunday night. The Buccaneers are currently favored by 3. From an injury perspective, everyone's pretty clean. Jameson Crowder, wide receiver for the Commanders, is questionable. But the Bucks could be getting back Antoine Winfield Jr. It's been a while. He's been out with a knee injury, but he was a full participant all week. And Cade Otton as well has missed a couple weeks with a knee injury, but he was full for the last 2 days of practice this week. So the Bucks could be getting some reinforcements up 3 here. Ben, where are you going with this game?
I've got the Buccaneers. I haven't moved off of that all week, but this game to me is up for grabs. I figure lots of points, which makes it more dangerous, makes it anybody's game, especially if we get in the fourth quarter and the game is close. Then the Commanders really have a chance because we've just seen them all year long. Once if they're going to lose, they often lose early. They kind of just you can tell that they don't look right. The running game isn't going. Jaden Daniels looks a little bit off. But if they've got good offensive flow for the first 2 or 3 quarters, you get them in the fourth, and it's like they just kind of turn magic in a lot of these games. So I do expect it to be close, high scoring. Give me the Buccaneers here in a very tight one. I just like the roster better overall. That's really what's the driving force here.
Austin.
I'm really confident in the Bucks. They're my third most confident pick, so they're going for 4 for me. I've been on them all week. This is one I haven't wavered on. The addition of Antoine Winfield coming back just kind of reinforces that, and it's why I feel so confident giving them the 4 here. Antoine Winfield is a monster in run defense. He
Mhm.
is easily a top 3 run stopping safety in the NFL. Like there's no doubt about that in my mind. And that's what the Commanders like to do. They like to run the ball with Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler and throw a lot of, short passes, and Antoine Winfield being back is just going to hurt their chances of having success on that even more. And defensively, the Commanders secondary is weak, I would say. Their ability to stop the run also not very good. It's a pretty, I mean, not that the Bucks defense is some, awesome thing. They got a guy back who can help a lot.
Mhm.
But the Commanders defense is scary, and with what I'm dubbing the killer bees in Tampa. Um, Ben, I don't know if you heard this, but the killer bees, they've
Blasphemous.
got Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, and Mike Evans, because they're just going to ride him all the way to the Super Bowl. Yeah,
That's
Mike
good. I like
Evans
it.
isn't even the thing I'm mad about. It's putting Baker in the Ben Roethlisberger spot. It's just it's awful. It's terrible. Anyways, I'm also going with the Bucks in this one. Confidence meter of 1 because I do think this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to come down to the end of the game. But ultimately, I think that Tampa Bay defense is going to make a key stop some point, at some pivotal point of the game. I think they have that championship medal still with a couple of their players. Vita Vea was on this championship team, Levante David, a couple other guys. Antoine Winfield being back is obviously huge. I think they're going to be able to make the key stops when they need. At the end of the first half on a 2 minute drive. Maybe it's at the end of the game on a potential game winning drive for the Commanders. Think this is going to be a shootout back and forth. I think Bucks ultimately pull it out on the back of a couple key defensive stops. Let's go to our final game, the Monday night game. Obviously, we have Vikings at Rams. This game is now being played in Arizona because of the wildfires in Los Angeles. So obviously, just keeping everyone in Southern California and LA in your thoughts as we, get to this game. I saw a great tweet by a Vikings fan. Like if you're at this game and you're a Vikings fan, just buy a Rams fan a beer. So if you're at a bar and you're at dinner and you're watching this game with a Rams fan, go get something for him, help him out a little bit, do what you can. But anyways, let's get to the game here. Uh, Pretty healthy on this front as well. From a no nothing official is out yet because it's the Monday night game and it's Friday as we do this. But Austin, any big injuries that you're aware of on either side that we need to be watching for in this one?
No, I think this is going to be a pretty clean, healthy matchup. Going back, if you don't mind me, just kind of parlaying that into my pick. I've got the Vikings winning in this one. The last time these two teams matched up, it was sort of two teams meeting in a swing. The Vikings in a downswing and the Rams in an upswing, and it went the Rams' way. I guess that's why the line started as a
Hmm.
pick 'em. I think the public has swayed that now to where it's about a two and a
Two
half
and a half.
point
Mm-hmm.
favoring the Vikings, which makes so much more sense. When I was looking at this and seeing it as a pick 'em, I just did not understand it. Two and a half is a solid line. I still think the Vikings will probably end up covering this. The Rams just don't scare me as a Vikings fan, even though again, like I said, they did beat us, but that was kind of in the middle of an upswing. They'd just gotten back their two stud receivers. Stafford was playing pretty well. Kyren Williams was still rushing pretty well. He's slowed down. Stafford slowed down. Their pass rush has not improved. Their secondary's gotten worse. Like the Rams are now in the downswing. And although Week 18 was not kind to the Vikings, that was against the best team in football, in my opinion, of the Lions. So I'm not necessarily holding that against the Vikings. This should be a fairly easy matchup compared to the Lions matchup, and they should handle it with a nice, comfortable victory. I'm not projecting a blowout by any means, but a nice, solid victory. If you hadn't kept track of how many confidence points I had left, only number left for me was three, so that's where it went.
Should note you mentioned the upswing versus downswing. Yeah, they get those offensive pieces healthy. Blake Cashman, the linebacker for the Vikings, did not play in this game, and our friend John Boyd, Ben's co-host on Necessary Roughness every Tuesday night, wrote a great article about how Cashman is the key to that Vikings defense. It completely changed. So that little downswing you're talking about really coincided with him being out. He's obviously back healthy in this one. Ben, what do you got in this one, Vikings and Rams?
Not much different. I've got the Vikings as well. Confidence level of 3 points there. The Rams, to me, are still a dangerous team, even though I'm thoroughly confused by them. I mean, we saw them go against the Bills in what was an 80-point game, and they've done nothing but play defensive field goal battles since then, but they've been winning. I don't really know what to make of this team, but to me, they're completely dangerous for anybody, not just Minnesota, but they're just dangerous. I look at them as the same way as the Buccaneers, even though the Buccaneers, I feel like I know more who they are. Boy, the Rams, ever since they got people back in the middle of the season, have just been a devastating force. I mean, they're just winning different ways, but they're winning. So the Rams are dangerous, but still, the Vikings have been the better team all year. So give me Minnesota. I figured they come in here ready to play hard and hot and forgetting all about the previous week until they go the following week and maybe play the Lions again.
All right. Let's see. I almost just moved straight on. I'm also going with the Vikings as well. The Rams finishing on essentially a 5 game win streak here, other than that Week 18 game, it is great. But Matthew Stafford threw for under 200 yards in each of the last 5 games and had one, or in the last 3 games, I'm sorry, and one total touchdown during that time. So he's just banged up. The wear and tear of the season is on him. It's not what he was in that game where everybody exploded. And I've seen enough of Sam Darnold this year to say I'm not gonna. You talked about it, Austin, that pick 'em essentially. That's coming off of his horrible game against the Lions, right on prime time that everybody saw. So everyone's thinking it's New York Jets seeing Ghost Darnold again. I'm not quite there yet. So give me the Vikings in this one. This is my confidence meter of 2, a little lower than you guys, but that's just because Stafford, McVay, Nakua, and Cup. I mean, if those guys go off for 40, like I'm not going to be super surprised by that. But I'm going with the Vikings in this one as well. All right, let's get to our bets, guys. So we are going this time with uh, just the three of us. Nothing special this time. Be on the lookout next week for something fun. But we're continuing where we left off. So I am currently in first at 130.78 goats. Austin is in second at 106.54. Ben is in third at 62.39. Parker, again, not doing well. He's got no goats left. See us next time for some updates on that. But Austin, give us a bet here. What's your first bet of the night?
Yeah, well, we started with 100. I had that 654 left, so I figured I'd throw that on a touchdown for Lad McConkey. I mentioned how I think he's going to be a key piece to the Chargers winning this week. So just a nice, easy 6.54 goats worth on that at plus 150.
I like it. Yeah, it feels like if they're gonna win, he's gonna have to be a big point of that. But maybe with Palmer and Johnston questionable, D'Amico Ryans might be saying go attack the little rookie out there. We'll see. But that's a fun one. That's a good one. McConkey, great player. Ben, what's your first bet?
So basically, I've been struggling in this contest all year long, and I've been somewhere between second and fourth in most weeks. I think I had one week where I was in first, and that didn't last very long. So my only goal here is by Super Bowl week to just be close enough to where I can take a huge swing and win by 1,000,000 points. Okay, so I'm
Right.
going to
Mhm.
have some crazy Super Bowl bet. I'll take a little bit bigger swings here in the playoff lead ups here. I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to have a big day. We've already kind of alluded to that. But why not 300 yards passing? So I'm going for over 300 yards passing here. If it's a close game, they may still need him to be throwing the football around,
Yep.
whether they're up or down. So he's still got a chance at the whole game there. I can get plus 285 on that. So I like the juice there on that. I'll put seven goats on it to win almost 20. So Baker Mayfield over 300 yards passing.
Anybody find a special in this game for a Lattimore and Evans fight? Anybody see that one? That's what I was.
Not yet. I didn't
I,
see it.
I spent my days looking for that. But anyways, I'm gonna stay in this game as well, and I'm gonna go. I think this was one of my first bets I made all season. Yaya Diaby, edge rusher for the Bucks, point 0.2 over 0.25 sacks. It's plus 125. He has 2.5 sacks in the last three games, and Jaden Daniels has taken 9 sacks in the last two games. I think Daniel's going to be running around trying to make a bunch of plays. That's where he's liable to take some of those sacks where he's trying to scramble or thinking about the scramble, and he gets his eyes down. I think Diaby's on a tear. He's a really good player. I think he can get that half sack here. I'm going to put five goats on that for plus 125. Austin, you're up next. What do you got?
All right, so I decided I was going to take a parlay of just money lines on the three teams I had the highest confidence index in. So that was the Chargers, the Bucks, and the Eagles. So I'm going those three teams to all win plus 268, putting 10 goats worth on it. So I feel pretty good about that one.
I already did the math. If Austin hits both of these and I miss
Mm.
both of mine, he will be in first place come next week. So we will see what happens because I do. What can go wrong, right? Obviously, these bets look fantastic. This is obviously going to happen for Austin. Austin. Um, I'm trying to reverse jinx him. Does anybody think it's working? Does anyone think that Juju is going against him? No.
I've never
Okay.
seen a reverse jinx work in my life. Those
Not
things don't exist.
not one time. Not one time. Ben, what's your second bet?
All right. So I thought I'd go for something fun here with my second one. And there's a lot of points to be had here if it happens. So it's a Sam Darnold anytime touchdown. I can get plus 475 on that. So I'm going to put seven goats on it. That would give me 33 points, just that alone. So either bet here, I'm putting 14 on the line this week. I've got a chance to win as much as 53. So, if either one hits, I'll have made more than my money's worth. So this was a fun one to root for. Just Sam Darnold crossing the goal line at some point during the game. I'd love to see it on the way to a Vikings victory. So, make me a winner too, man.
Would be a good little confidence booster too. He can do the little float in and finger roll or a nice QB sneak where he has to get dirty and run over somebody. Might be a little nice little shock to the confidence for everybody if he gets that one. My next one, guys, I'm breaking the mold a little bit. I was not as bold as Austin to go with just like a straight money line or pairing two teams together like I normally do. I scrolled over. I scrolled to an extra tab here in a betting platform of our choosing and found a weekly special. And I found Justin Herbert to lead all Saturday passers in yards at plus 200. Herbert will obviously be competing in this stat against Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, CJ Stroud. Herbert is fifth in the NFL since December started with over 1,300 passing yards. Lamar is 11th with just over 1,100. Wilson and Stroud are 19th and 20th at 856 and 852. So I'm not too worried about those guys. Obviously, Lamar could have a big game, but I think the split of what the run game can do in this one for them, and just the fact that they might be up by a lot, and they might be coasting in the third quarter, is going to bring that down. So I think Herbert could have a big game, big passing game here. So if he just leads all four of those passers, I get plus 200 on that, and I'm going to put five goats on that one. And that's going to do it. That's going to do it for our first ever playoff preview. That's the wild card round for you. Again, make sure you check out all of the audio pods as well. We preview each of these games in different formats there. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you like this video. You'll continue to get updates. And we'll be here through the playoffs. We'll be here after the playoffs. So make sure you're sticking with Box Score Network. And until next week, have fun and enjoy the games. Talk to you soon.